Colored, nigger, African American, black, coon, and negro are all the words that describe my race. These are the words that help mold me into the woman that I am today. Not all of those words that I've listed are in a respectful manner, but they all mean one thing: a black person. Although all of those words and names can be thrown towards anyone of the African descent, oftentimes people do not care to see behind the skin of an individual. In hindsight, everyone looks alike when the lights are off, or even when we are dead and buried in the ground. Racism is a big issue in the modern world of today. It almost seems as if history is repeating itself from the 1950s. For someone to completely understand the big race issue, you must take a look into the eyes of a person of color. My eyes. The same eyes as someone who the doctor has diagnosed with having the disease of being colored. There are many opinions stating that racism is non existent, since there are not any more slaves in America, even since America has elected a black president. People who state their opinions in this matter are completely oblivious to the fact that racism is far from non existent. Unless you're a minority or a person of color, how could you possibly know that racism is non existent? People of color and minorities face hurdles every day that non minorities do not face. I, being African American myself, have learned numerous lessons on growing up black. My parents would always tell me and instill in me when the police stops you to always put your hands on the steering wheel. Never take your hands off the steering wheel while the officers are talking to you unless you absolutely have to. Always keep your hands in eye view of the officer. Never leave your insurance cards or registrations in your glove compartment. Always keep them in your visor so you will not have to reach over to dig for them, just in case officers think you're reaching for a weapon. Keep eye contact and always remain respectful towards the officer, even if he or she is not being respectful towards you. Whenever I'm being pulled over by the police, I'm sure to always have someone on the phone with me. I always put the phone on speaker and have whomever I am on the phone with to mute their phone, so the officer will not know that I'm on the phone. I always do this as a precaution, just in case something happens. My uncle was killed by police in 1992, and sadly, there were never any charges filed. That situation and the recent African American killings by police tends to always put me on edge when I'm around a police officer. One huge downfall that I've realized that comes with being an African American is having black privilege. Black privilege is far from white privilege. White privilege is having an easy way out of most situations or having everything almost granted to you, like on a silver platter. I would consider black privilege is having not a dime handed to you, but the odds stacked against you and complete struggle. When people look at me, I always wonder what is the first thing that comes to their mind: a female or a black person, or even both. What amazes me is the fact that most white people know that they have white privilege and will even admit it. Some are arrogant, while others are aware of their white power privilege, but try and let it not be known to the world. Tim Wise wrote a book talking about the experience is as a white man with white privilege. The book is a true eye-opener for not only blacks, but whites as well. He stated, when you're a member of the privileged group, you don't take too kindly to someone telling you can't do something. Tim openly admitted what your average black person already knew. Minority groups are used to doors being slammed in their face or used to being told no. What's difficult is when your privileged group of people can get away with acts that if a minority group committed, the consequences would be horrendous. I work as actors in Bainbridge and I witnessed a lot of racial injustices unfold right in front of my eyes. I witnessed young white boys fighting my drive-through when the police were present, and neither boy was arrested nor told to leave the premises via the police. I've also witnessed a young black boy who was clearly mentally unstable coming to Zaxby's and asked to use the phone. When we told him we did not have a public phone, he cursed, causing the officers to come to the counter and escort him out. which happened to be the same exact officers who did not remove the two young white boys off the premises for fighting. Which crime was worse? The young black boy saying damn, or the two white boys fighting? Crime should never have a discrimination. That is completely unacceptable. Tim Wise stated, when I got to college, I witnessed a lot of injustices. The fake ID thing wasn't that important since pretty much everyone could get away with drinking in New Orleans. But the drugs, well, that was different. It was a different story altogether, actually, because drugs are every bit as illegal in New Orleans as anywhere else, at least if you're black and poor, and also have the misfortune of doing your drugs somewhere other than the dorms at Tulane University. But if you're lucky enough to be living at Tulane, which is pretty much a white place, especially contrasted with the cities where it's located, which is 65% black, then you are absolutely set. When dealing with so much discrimination in today's times, it makes me wonder, will colored people ever become equal to white people? That answer can easily speak for itself. I do not feel that my race will ever be equal to the Caucasian race. It has come to the point where headlines will bluntly say blacks. When the shooting in Charleston occurred, the New York Times stated 9 killed in shooting at black church in Charleston. If the shooting was at a white church, what would the headlines have read? There are many opinions that believe this shooting has boiled down to dealing with race. It is obvious that it's race. What else could it be? You've got a white guy into an African American church. That's choice. He chose to go into the church and harm those people. That's a choice. An African American witness stated that was involved in the shooting in Charleston. There have been many bad circumstances for colored people over the past years, but there have also been a few good things. When I look over my life and through my race, I see progress. This year marked the 25th anniversary of the Million Man March. This anniversary could not have been at a more perfect time. Through all of those setbacks that we as African Americans have witnessed this year, it feels good to see that we are still standing. We are still here. The theme for the Million Man March this year was justice or else. A participant of the Million Man March stated, the goal for organizations says it is to incorporate calls for justice for the currently dead shootings, most of black men, with the anniversary of the original gathering. The anniversary was a confirmation to keep pushing. Black lives will always matter. Although I've been diagnosed with the disease of being color, before I left the womb, I grasped my disease and made the best opportunity I could from it. There have been many times that I've been criticized for my hair texture, my skin, or just for being black, just for being a black person. It simply always decides that I can't change this. I simply always decide to embrace my flaws and love myself. The disease of being black is similar to having AIDS. Oftentimes, people do not want to be around you because of your disease, but I cannot help this. I cannot help having this disease. I was born this way. Also, I know oftentimes things may get worse before they get better for people like myself, but I am always hopeful that a cure will come through. The cure being equality and justice. But until the cure comes, I refuse to give up on fighting my disease. Justice or else, Black lives will always matter.